AMD have forgotten about RDNA 2 and RDNA 3 users, so it's time to mess around with the Optiscaler client. Alright guys, so let's get stuck straight into it, and I'm going to show you how to use the Optiscaler client. I'm going to use Resident Evil Requiem today, but this can be used for all Capcom games. So anything using the RE engine, follow this guide because it has an extra step that other games wouldn't have. So you need to also download the RE framework, and we'll get into that in a little bit. So let's start with step one and go straight to downloading the Optiscaler client. So the first thing you need to do is go to Augustine M28's Optiscaler client GitHub page. This is a brand new version of Optiscaler. It just came out 5 days ago. So you can see Google Optiscaler client. It will take you straight to the GitHub. From there, always go to the right hand side here and you can see Optiscaler client 1.0.4. that is the latest release, so you always want to get the latest release. And let's have a look. So this has a major overhaul to the library management. It's got grid view, profile systems, there's a couple of different things, default GPU selection, grid view as we said, manual game editing and all this other stuff. So this is recently updated, so go right to the bottom, you can see the shout out there. So Augustine M28 and the contributors, big shout out to you guys for setting up the Optiscaler client. So you download it there, you can see Optiscaler client 1.0.4 portable.zip, and we're going to download that to the desktop. The next thing you need to download is the RE framework. So just Google RE framework and that will bring up Praydog's GitHub page for the RE framework. The RE framework is a mod injector that allows you to use stuff like Optiscaler. It also allows you to add in mods, even use VR and stuff like that. So it is a really good program. So same thing again, you can go to Praydog's RE framework page and go down to the right to the latest release, which is 1.5.9.1, and then you can download it. You can actually download it per game, per Capcom game, basically. Street Fighter 6, Resident Evil 8, RE7, Resident Evil Requiem, the whole lot, right? Now, you can do that and inject that into your game. I do it a little bit differently. So what I'm also going to show you is the Fluffy Mod Manager. So if you go to Nexus Mods, you can go to the Fluffy Mod Manager page, and that is another mod injector that incorporates Praydog's RE framework. You can also download mods and things like that, and that's the easiest way for me. So that's what I would do. Go down to manual, takes a couple of seconds to download, and load that up. It's really easy to use. I've already got it installed, so I'm going to show you it now. This is what the Fluffy Mod Manager looks like. So you can see that there's a whole bunch of mods there, so you can do a lot of things. You can go into the download section of Fluffy Mod Manager and you can just download the RE framework from within Mod Manager, within Fluffy Mod Manager. So it's really easy. You can also go to Nexus Mods to get all the different mods and stuff. So I don't know if you guys saw my Resident Evil streams, but we had Captain America Leon, we had Battlesuit Grace, there's B2 Grace as well, RPD Grace and stuff like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to turn on the RE framework. So I've got the latest version here, so I'm going to turn on the latest version of RE framework. There's a couple of other things that I'm going to turn on that just help things if I want to install some mods. So independent hair strands for Grace, and then character works is a good one. Turn it on for Leon and Grace, and that means it just supports any of the mods that you can go in. So we'll leave the mods off for now, just so we can show how the Optiscaler client works. But if you want to learn more about the mod manager, we will do another video for that as well. So let me know in the comments down below if you're looking for a mod manager sort of setup guide as well. Now that we've got all that done, let's install the Optiscaler client. So I've got it here on my desktop. I'm just going to unzip it. So we'll extract our files. Now I have a little game utility folder that I like to go to. So let's go to that, go to my game drive, go to game utilities, and I'm going to pop it in there. So Optiscaler 0.1 portable. Okay, let's do it. So I've got that here. Let's bring that up. And there we go. We've got our Optiscaler client. So let's go into it. That's what it looks like there, the Optiscaler client. And there you have it. So this is the Optiscaler client. There's a couple of things that you can do, and I can see some of the tweaks that have already been made. So this is in a grid view, but you can have it in list view. You can have it a couple of different ways, but I actually like the way it looks. You can reorder them. You can hide and show them. That is very cool. I like that. It tells you what your current GPU is. So the AMD Radeon 6800 XT is up there, and then you can see we have our games. Now the latest version, for some reason, in the previous version all the thumbnails for the games came up, so I'm not too sure what's going on there. Let's have a look at the settings. So you've got a couple of different app preferences. You've got the application languages, you've got app sources, so you can choose what it actually sources. So Steam, Epic Games, it's got all my stuff there. You can even add a custom folder if you say all the C's as well. It's got the default GPU, so mine's defaulting to the Radeon 6800 XT. It says auto recommended, but we're just going to leave it on the 6800 XT. You can enable animations. You can do a Steam Grid DB API key as well, so you have to set that up. I'll just show you quickly. You have to go to Steam Grid DB and all that sort of stuff, so I'm not going to do that now, but you can do that if you want. You can load up the local cache management, or I guess you can delete it all. So currently selected is 9.0. Let's just leave it at that, and it tells you what DLLs you've got for FSR4. So we've got FSR 4.0.2b and 4.0.2c. We've also got beta versions as well, so that is pretty cool. But we've got 9.0 currently selected, so let's keep that there. You can auto scan on startup, and you can clear the application. So let's get into it. So we want to inject FSR4 into Resident Evil Requiem. Another cool thing that it has is that it's got what sort of upscaler your game has. So you can see in Requiem, it's got DLSS, FSR, and XEXS. So you can just quick install it. You can just hit bang and let everything do it for itself, and then load up the game. But let's go into manage and see what the options are. So beta versions already include the fake NV API and Nukem frame generation, so you can choose to install those. So I'm not going to use frame generation right now, so I'm just going to go to the latest, and I'm also going to keep it on the FSR4 Int 8 latest version. Now we've got the rolling OptiPatcher. Now the rolling OptiPatcher uses a plugin, hang on, let's go, is an ASI plugin for Optiscaler that exposes DLSS and DLSS frame generation inputs without spoofing in supported games. This helps AMD and Intel users avoid a D3, D12 error and prevents performance overhead for crashes. So it's a good thing to have on, so I'm just going to put on the latest. I think the rolling one just picks the one that you need, and we're going to leave that on Optiscaler standard. So let's do an install. So we're installing it, and it looks like Optiscaler plus FSR4 Int 8 has been installed into Resident Evil Requiem. That is very cool. Now it's going to work like that because we've already turned on the RE framework in Fluffy Mod Manager, so we should be all good to go. That's it, guys. That's how easy it is. Can you believe how good and how easy it has become to install Optiscaler into your games? I'm pretty happy with it. So that is ready to go. Let's have a look how it looks in Resident Evil Requiem. Okay, here we go, guys. And one thing I forgot to mention to you guys is that Optiscaler and RE Framework both have the same shortcut key. So you're going to want to change that in your system, okay? So when it gets loaded up, let's have a look. Let's go into the options first thing and have a look at the graphics here. So we're in borderless window. Everything looks good here. Let's go to the image. So everything looks pretty normal here. Let's go into our advanced settings and look, we've got FSR 4.0.2C already up and running. So we are in a good way. So let's have a look how it looks. Okay, so let's just continue here. I'm really happy with how easy it is. Are you guys going to try it? Let me know in the comments down below. This is a really cool way to inject FSR into your system. So I just want to show you guys how good it looks. So this is Grace in FSR4, and you can see that there is just so much more clarity here than there is in FSR3. FSR3 looks a little bit hazy. You can see the ghosting. There is still a little bit of ghosting with FSR4, but it looks really great. We're getting over 100 frames per second here, and I'll also show you what my settings are, right? And I'll show you the difference. So this is the optimized settings, because this is how I've actually been playing Resident Evil Requiem, and I don't know if you guys noticed, but I've actually 100%ed this thing. I enjoyed it so much. But Resident Evil Requiem looks good. Now, you can tell that there are there's some UI ghosting and stuff like that, and you can see some shimmering and some ghosting on the gun and things like that. But for the most part, this thing looks unreal. Now, I'm getting 100 frames per second with FSR4 Int 8 with frame generation off. So I'm going to show you my optimized settings, go into my graphics mode. So I'm in borderless window mode, I'm in HDR auto. Let's go to the image quality. So we're at 4K, we've got a variable frame rate. Motion blur for me is off, I keep that off. Ray tracing is set to normal. Hair strands is on. I think hair strands looks absolutely fantastic, so I have kept that on. Because it's on, I've decided to turn FSR frame generation off because it has too much ghosting, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. But there you go. I've got my, let's show you my advanced settings. If you want to dial it in and you've got a 6800 XT, RDNA 2 or even RDNA 3 card, these are the settings to go with for Resident Evil. So I'll go with you. Texture quality, leave it on high. Texture filter quality, all the way up high. Anti-aliasing is on TAA. The mesh quality is standard. Screen space reflections are on. Subsurface scattering is on high. Lens distortion is off because I can't stand it, but that's a personal preference for you guys, so you can see what it does there, and I just don't like that. I like my games to look like games. Depth of field, I leave that on. The upscaling technology is now FSR 4.0.2C, so this has worked. You can confirm that. Very good stuff. Now, I've left the upscaling mode in balanced, so you can bump it up or down a little bit, but I think the balance mode gives you the best sort of, frame and FPS, the best visual fidelity and FPS possible. So I like it smack in the middle. I think it's well worth it. I've turned frame generation off. Now, NVIDIA Reflex low latency is off, but you can actually turn it on with Optiscaler. So usually this will not be available for RDNA users because it's an NVIDIA feature. But with Optiscaler, you can actually turn it on. Now, for the sake of this, I'm keeping it off. Okay. Particle lighting, I've kept that on. Volumetric fog resolution, I leave that normal for a bit of FPS, so you can see, right, it's not too much of a bump, but I'd prefer to have the FPS. Lens dirt, keep it off. Doesn't do anything, but you know, I don't need that either. And I've turned the lens flare down to standard. I think it looks better anyway. You know, the lens flare, it's just a little too much on high, so I like to keep that down. Now, one thing that I've done that most people probably don't need to do is turn the shadow quality all the way down. And here's why. Standard, it is set to high, but I think normal looks better. So it's a bit of a jump, and I think that normal looks better. So shadow quality, for the FPS boost that you get, I think it's worth it, okay? Now, contact shadows, leave them on. Ambient occlusion, leave that on high. There's not a huge depth, and I think it looks better. So you're not taxing your GPU. But it's one of those things, if you want to turn that down, it's not going to be the most noticeable thing. So leave it on high, but if you want even more of an FPS boost, that's a good one that you can change, because it's got a couple of options. It's got normal and low as well. Alright, and then the VX quality, I leave that on standard as well. But if you want a little bit of a difference, there you go, you can do that. So that is a bit of a jump as well. So if you want an FPS boost, I think low looks good as well, but you know, this is Resident Evil, so leave it on high. Now, with those settings, that's what this looks like. Over 100 FPS in Resident Evil Requiem on RDNA 2 6800 XT with frame generation off. Okay, so that is pretty cool. Now, I want to show you what it looks like when you turn frame generation on. So I think it looks a lot better. You get a good visual fidelity bump, and you're still able to maintain some frames. Let's just have a look how it looks like in other lighting conditions. So you can see it looks pretty cool. I'm very happy with that. Let's go in the red as well. Come on, Gracie baby. What a great game, by the way, guys. This was a really cool experience. So you can see that's what it looks like. It looks good, and in the dark scenes, it just looks unreal. It looks as good as it can possibly look. Okay, let's head back to our little circle here. Now let me show you what it looks like with frame generation turned on. So we'll head over back to the graphics, and let's go to frame generation. We're going to turn that on and head back. So you get a huge bump with frame generation, but look what happens, guys. Can you see what happens with Grace's hair? Now, I want to caveat this by saying what you can do is turn frame generation on and turn hair strands off. This is giving me about 153, 155 frames per second. Right? So if you can deal with that, you get a massive FPS boost. Okay? But you can see the ghosting in the hair strands, right? But here's what you can do as well. Let's just stop here. Let's quit. And you can turn off hair strands. So hair strands needs to be turned off from the menu, unfortunately. So let's do that now. Image. Let's go to hair strands. You can turn that off, and you can see the difference there. So while hair strands looks good, it is a huge impact on performance. So you can turn that off. I don't think it looks that good. Okay, so we've turned that off. Let's go back into our game now. Just loading up. So that's what it looks like. Okay. This is with frame generation on and hair strands off. So that looks pretty cool. But just remember, you can still actually see the ghosting a little bit. You can see it in between her arms. You can see it in her hair as well. But it's not as pronounced with hair strands off, right? The thing is, I don't think Grace looks as good. And with Pragmata coming out as well, and the young character, the young AI Diana kid, she's got like really long wavy hair that use hair strands as well. So you're gonna have to pick your battles. I think the visual fidelity on hair strands looks absolutely amazing, and I think that's how the characters have been developed, so I think it really needs it for this game. So this is an option and it looks very, very good, but hair strands looks unreal. So let's go back, let's quit out. I'm going to turn hair strands on. So for me, hair strands go back on. Okay, and then let's tweak it in game a little bit. What do you guys think? Do you think hair strands is worth the performance hit? Let me know in the comments down below. Have a look at the difference there. So there you go. Look, in normal gameplay, I think it looks okay if you want to keep frame gen on. It just bugs me a little bit. I just know it's there. So let's go. I'm going to go into the settings. I'm going to go FSR4 frame generation off. Now keep it on balanced. And remember those settings. We've got pretty high settings here. Shadow qualities on normal. Contact shadows. Remember, we can turn ambient occlusion down to normal. We can turn VFX quality down to low. Right, and let's have a look how that looks. Okay, so you're still getting 100 frames per second. I think that looks great just the way it is. I don't think you need frame generation, and in fact, I don't think the loss of those things, I would turn them back up. So if we go back down to, let's go all the way down to VFX quality, I don't think it had a really big impact, so I'm going to put it back up. Ambient occlusion, I'm going to put it back up to high as well. I think you get the same. It actually went up a little bit, so it went up by 1 or 2 FPS. So I think that is the way to do Resident Evil Requiem optimized settings, right? Hair strands looking good, Grace looking unreal, the best way to take out these zombies. So I've been doing a lot of that, so let's just get a few different lighting there. So I think that's how Grace is supposed to look, and that's how the young AI kid in Pragmata will supposed to look as well. Remember, you can turn it off, you just got to pick your poison. So I hope this helps you guys. I hope this is a really good demonstration. I think it looks unreal, and that's how you use the Optiscaler client. It's really easy and simple to use. I hope that's been beneficial for you guys. Let me know in the comments down below if you're going to try the Optiscaler client. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Thank you very much for watching. I had a really good time making this one. I hope you guys had a good time watching it, and I hope you try out the Optiscaler client. It's easy to use. It will help you inject your FSR4 into your games and breathe some life into RDNA 3 and RDNA 2 GPUs. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this one. I've had a really good time making this one. I hope you guys had a good time watching it, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching. See you next time.